Hey, what's up? This is Chosen. It is Thursday, which means we are finally getting some official confirmation as to what is going to be coming this weekend, and is it going to be a 10x event. And then we've also got a buff to s1MPLE as a champion, who is obviously going to be the new promo champion based on somebody in real life. s1MPLE, the FPS gamer, coming to Raid as a promotion, already getting a buff because the community in general has been pretty underwhelmed with his announcement as a champion. But we will get you caught up on everything you need to know heading into the weekend for Raid Shadow Legends. Let's get into it. Alrighty, so first of all, under the events tab, you'll see the summon rush up there, and there will be a countdown, and that is when the 10x is actually going to be live in game. So this weekend, the champions for the 10x are going to be TUANERIC, and then we've got Roshkar the Tower, Norog, Lady Kimmy, Umbral, Ugo, Phoenix, and Chonoru. So let's really quickly go through, and I will give you my first initial impressions on each champion in this 10x. So first up, the Void legendary in this 10x is going to be TUANERIC, which is a newer legendary for the barbarians that has come to the game recently and is actually really solid, kind of like an improved version of Doom Priest, I would say. They're like the only two champions that have this passive every turn to cleanse debuffs on allies, and TUANERIC is just kind of a better version of Doom Priest. She's got a lot of solid things in her kit. Decreased speed on the A1 that is also going to be healing allies. She's based on defense, so she's very tanky. And then we've also got the A2 here that is going to place decreased attack and block buffs while doing debuff spread, so you can really target something to go ahead and hinder it. Going to be amazing for things like boss fights. And then we also get a 3-turn cooldown, AoE, defense, and speed increase. That's an insane ability to have on a 3-turn cooldown. AoE increased defense is actually a lot more rare than you think it is, and then getting speed on top of that is going to make that ability super good. I love that it's on a 3-turn cooldown. Then obviously just consistent value here of constant cleansing. So yeah, I think she's a very solid champion. Maybe not going to be the best in the game or anything, not like a Sify or something, but definitely an awesome champion. Then as we get into the other legendaries, we've got Roshkar the Tower. Now, Roshkar on paper seems like he would be a lot stronger than he ends up being. He's most notable for the A3 here. That's going to be block damage on all allies for 2 turns, which is awesome. You'll see him used in some unkillable comps and stuff like that. Some arena defense teams and tag team arena and stuff. But maybe it's the cooldown. The 4-turn cooldown just isn't enough to keep that live. And then besides that, he doesn't have a whole lot of utility. He's got a single target A1 to remove 1 buff. That's not really that great for a legendary. And then we've got a pretty decent A2 to block skills and block buffs for 2 turns that can't be resisted. So I do like that. You can build him high res as long as you just go ahead and surrender the value of the A1. But like he's better on paper than he ends up being in game when you try to use him in like the arena and stuff. So he's a solid champion, just not like amazing. Norog is going to be kind of in the same vein as Roshkar. He definitely seems really good on paper, and he is a solid champion. He's got more block active skills on the A1. This A2 here is amazing for Faction Wars. If you're struggling with Skinwalker's Faction Wars and you get this guy, he is definitely going to help you out to progress on that, because the AoE block buffs for 2 turns, if you can book that to a 3-turn cooldown, as long as you've got a high speed team, it's almost permanent where you're blocking the other team from getting any buffs. So in any sort of wave scenario, he is going to be incredible, and he's amazing versus the Valkyries because he's a strong affinity as well, just constantly placing that block buffs so they can't do the counter attack for that tough stage in Faction Wars. And then also the passive, he's immune to CC stuff like stun, freeze, and sleep, and then he's also going to decrease the damage. This is just guaranteed value. This is kind of like Duchess passive, where you've got decreased damage by 15% or 25% if people have no buffs. So yeah, an amazing passive. I love that. And the kit in general is pretty solid as well. Again, you're not going to see him as like a king in the meta, but he is definitely a good champ. And then the last legendary in this 10x is going to be Lady Kimmy, obviously a new champion for the Shadowkin faction upon their reveal. Lady Kimmy's insane. She's got a ridiculous kit. We've got an A1 that's going to attack the enemy with the highest, attack one enemy, then attack the enemy with the highest turn meter, and will attack the same enemy twice if the initial target has the highest turn meter, and the second hit has a chance to decrease. So we've got turn meter manipulation basically on the A1, and then the A2 and the A3 are just insane. So the A2 is going to be AoE, decrease accuracy, and decrease speed, while also decreasing turn meter on a 3-turn cooldown. And then the A3 is going to be remove a buff from every enemy, and then also a 75% chance that you can book to 100 of placing a block buffs for 2 turns on the enemies who had something removed. So if that actually procs, that's insane. But on top of that, if that doesn't proc, you've got fill turn meter of all allies by 15%, and then we're going to increase accuracy and speed on all allies. So we're getting both ends of the accuracy and speed spectrum. We're going to decrease their accuracy and speed, and we're going to increase our accuracy and speed. So definitely a huge swing on the battlefield to go along with a passive of whenever this champion places a debuff on an enemy. Also decrease that enemy's turn meter by 5% for each debuff placed, and whenever this champion or an ally receives a debuff, their turn meter is filled by 5%. So you couple that with a speed aura of 30% in Doom Tower battles, and the ridiculous base stat she has, 115 base speed, I believe is tied for the highest in the game. Yeah, Lady Kimmy is an awesome champion, and especially with the release of Shadowkin Faction Wars, anybody who has her, she's going to be in their Faction Wars team for sure. Then for the epics, we've got Umbral, who I popped up there on the bottom right, our most recent up-to-date top 25 epics in the game that I did with my Twitch chat. And Umbral did sneak in there at number 25. She's pretty impactful if you don't have a seer, because you can build more slower comps for the Doom Tower and stuff. And she's got a lot of lockdown and a lot of block buffs for 3 turns, which is insane on an epic. So yeah, Umbral is definitely solid, just not one of the top tier epics in the game. Then for Ugo, is actually one of my favorite epics. I think she's an amazing progression champion and awesome for Faction Wars, especially if you don't have the epics that are similar to her, like Stagnite and Duck. If you don't have either one of those, Ugo is super impactful. If you're an early to mid game player, she will help you progress a lot because she's going to be decreasing attack, blocking buffs, which is awesome for the arena. She can even revive in the right situation, place leech on boss fights. So similar to some of those other progression epics that bring similar things to their kit, like Stagnite and Duck, I think Ugo is an awesome epic. Phoenix is an epic that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, but he is a lot better than the community gives him credit for. He's got block buffs, block active skills. He hits really hard. He can block revive on the A1, super useful in things like the Ice Golem or maybe even in Tag Team Arena and stuff. And then he's also going to be decreasing defense and speed on the A3. So yeah, his cooldowns are a little bit rough because they're both 4. And I think that's why he doesn't get talked about a lot. The A2 is a 4-turn when booked, and the A3 is a 4-turn when booked. I think if one of these were able to be booked down to a 3-turn, he would get a lot more love than he does. But the kit is actually pretty solid. It's just the cooldowns hold him back a little bit. And then the last epic is going to be Chinoru. She's pretty situational. I think it's going to be pretty rare that she is worth maxing out and booking. She does have weaken, which is nice. That's not a super common thing. I think placing decreased defense is a little bit more common than placing weaken. So that is nice, but it's not AoE. It's just 3 times at random. And then removing increased defense buffs is pretty situational. So that's like, I would like to see something added on top of that. And the A1 is just a single hitter with a lowish chance of placing block buffs. So yeah, I think Chinoru is kind of the worst champion in this 10x, and she's very situational, hard to get consistent value out of. So what do I think about this 10x? I don't think it's that great. We don't have one of those champions like Duchess or Sify or Krisk in it, but it is definitely solid, and I think it's a good opportunity to chase Ugo. If you're an early to mid game player who doesn't have a progression epic like Miscreated Monster, Stagnite, something in that vein, I think it would be a good opportunity to go epic chasing, which is how I like to use 10x events, either god tier champion chasing or epic chasing. So if there's a Sify or Krisk or something in a 10x, I like going for that because it's an opportunity to get a really account changing champion. Or if you're in the progression type of account, then using it as an opportunity to chase certain top tier epics. And Ugo, I would consider as one of those. So worth noting there, I think typically it is best to save your shards for 2x events to get more consistent value out of your shards over the long-term health of your account. But do keep that in mind about the god tier champion chasing and then the epic chasing for Ugo in this one, which there isn't a god tier legendary, I would say. There's really solid legendaries, but not like top tier. So basically, that's my synopsis, is go for Ugo if you're in a progression type situation, but otherwise probably hold off. Plarium has also put out a announcement about update 5.00 that they released, and I will go ahead and give you the synopsis of what you need to know from it. If you don't want to sit here and read the wall of text, I got you. I will give you the highlights of what's in this post. So in this first section right here, they talk about how the Hydra update is going to be one of the biggest updates they've ever done because they're releasing a new clan boss. They've done a lot of heavy testing on it, and what they're going to confirm is this going to be coming soon, which they define as in the next several weeks. Which is, I mean, that could be 2 weeks from now, that could be 12 weeks from now. So quite the window they're leaving themselves there. They're learning that they can't put themselves locked down to a certain day. They got to give themselves a little bit of wiggle room for things to go wrong. And then also they realize that there's going to be a lot of swapping that needs to occur on accounts. So I will give them credit for going to they're going to be reducing 50% the cost of swapping artifacts between champions for 2 weeks after the Hydra launches, which is at least a good move on their part with having some awareness that people are going to be needing to switch stuff around. Obviously, we all wish it was free to move gear around, but this is a nice middle ground that they're going to give us and at least reduce the cost. The next paragraph right here talks about how you will obviously need to be in a clan to access the Hydra boss. It's gonna function similar to the normal Demon Lord clan boss, which is where you'll get a certain amount of keys. You got to rack up as much damage as you can, and then you'll get rewards based on the milestone that you and your clan achieve in terms of damage dealt to the Hydra before it resets. This next paragraph talks about how the Hydra will reset once a week. So how the normal Demon Lord clan boss resets once a day, the Hydra is going to be once a week, and you will get 3 keys per week to use versus the Hydra boss. So they talk about not wanting to overburden you by giving you a ton more stuff to do every day. So with only having to do 3 fights per week, you can really pick and choose what days and what time of the week you've got time to go ahead and spend those keys on the Hydra to make sure you are getting as much done to get your reward chest when it resets once a week. The next paragraph talks about how you will have the option to go ahead and just cancel the fight and get your key back and redo it, which I think is a great feature. We've already been doing this with the normal clan boss, but you had to hard exit your game, like just click the X if you're on PC, or hard close the app if you're on mobile, and then you would be able to use your key again in the normal clan boss. But what this is they're just gonna be adding that feature to the game. So versus the Hydra, you can actually truly test stuff super easily. You can go in and be like, okay, this team is working like this. Let me back out. Let me cancel my key and try something else. So that'll be a great feature for the Hydra and definitely needed in my opinion. The next paragraph talks about how the Hydra heads will function. There's going to be 6 Hydra heads in total, and then each month there's going to be 4 of them that start as the default. But when you beat one of the Hydra heads, there is a chance that one of those 2 that are on the sidelines will come into fight, and they're going to go ahead and shuffle that, like I said, once a month in terms of the 4 Hydra heads that will be featured as the initial team you're going to face before you chop off one of the heads. Then they talk about how this fight is going to be different and how it will let you bring 6 champions instead of 4 or 5, which we typically see in the arena or in faction wars and dungeons and stuff like that. So you'll be able to use 6 champions, but the catch is that you will only be able to use a champion for 1 key. So you remember you've got 3 keys per week to spend. So let's say you've got a Siffy. You use Siffy in one of your Hydra boss keys. Once that damage is final and registered, you won't be able to use Siffy again. So what this means is we're all excited about the dupe empowerment system and stuff like that, but you may want to hold off and be careful with your god tier champions like your Siffys and your Duchess and stuff like that. You may want to wait to empower until you get a grasp for how the Hydra is going to function, because maybe if you're lucky enough to have 2 or 3 god tier champions, you may want that champion in every single Hydra team that you use. So you might want to hold off on your empowering until you see how that's going to shake out. The next section talks about how each head will have specific skills, strengths, weaknesses, and challenges that they present. Similar to, there's going to be a Hydra head that consumes one of your champions, and you have to do a certain amount of damage before it goes ahead and just eats your champion. You'll have to do a certain amount of damage to get it to spit it out and stuff like that. So they're going to have special mechanics that function in different ways than we're used to seeing in Raid. And the last part here talks about how each head is going to have an HP bar, and when you decapitate the head, there will be an exposed neck that will take increased damage. So you really want to focus on getting as much damage as possible while there is a head decapitated before it is going to be replaced by something else. So hopefully that does a good job of wrapping this up here without going over it word for word. But I will link down below to the post if you would like to pull it up and kind of take a look at everything. And there's also some new debuffs and buffs and stuff coming to the game that I'll cover quickly for you. Life Barrier is going to be a shield-like effect where you have to do a certain amount of damage with a countdown timer, and if you don't, all the damage you did is going to be negated because it's just going to recover the HP to max. But if it is depleted, then you will go ahead and stun it for 1 turn, but Life Barrier cannot be removed, stolen, or otherwise affected or manipulated. Poison Cloud is going to block all hostile poison effects, and then also every attack against a Hydra head that has Poison Cloud is going to count as a weak hit. And you can also cancel this with things like the Affinity Breaker set and stuff like that, and that one also cannot be removed or manipulated. Vengeance will activate when the Head of Wrath suffers 15 hits, increases the head's damage by 300%. So as you hit it, it's just going to do more damage. That one also cannot be removed. Stone Skin is going to remove all debuffs from the champion and make them immune to all debuffs except bombs, and reduce incoming damage by 85%, and then increases damage dealt by bomb debuffs by 300%. Can be reset, dealing damage equal to 50% of the max HP. Serpent's Will is going to be when a new Hydra head grows in place of one that was decapitated, and it is going to decrease incoming damage of that new head by 75%. Pain Link is a little bit of a complicated one. It's going to create a link between the Head of Suffering and the target champion that it chooses. And the way to think about it is it's kind of like a reverse ally protection. So the target champion is going to receive 15% damage of all damage done to the Head of Suffering. So it works a little bit different than reflect damage, where it's just going to be kind of reflected in a general sense. But this time the Hydra is going to choose. It's going to put basically a reverse ally protection on somebody, and they're going to take a certain amount of damage that is done. So I know it gets wordy and hard to explain, but it's kind of like a reverse ally protection. Petrification is going to remove all buffs from the target champion and block any other buffs from being applied while Petrification is active, and they can still get debuffs though, and the target champion is going to skip their turns and the cooldowns of their skills, so they're basically just frozen in time. And then additionally, incoming damage will be reduced by 60%, except if it's bombs, which will be 300% buffed. Decapitated is going to be that situation we talked about earlier, where when the neck is exposed, it is going to take 200% more damage while that is activated. And then the Mark of the Hydra and the digesting part here at the end is going to be when it consumes one of your champions. And if you don't do a certain amount of damage before that consumption is kind of taking place, you will go ahead and have your champion removed from the battlefield. Then they get into all of the Hydra heads, and I know we're already getting pretty extensive in bombarding you with a wall of text and words, so I'm not going to cover every single head. We have a 3-hour video. I'm not going to cover every single head in detail. We've gone over it in different stuff, but basically the 6 heads are going to be Torment, Decay, Blight, Suffering, Mischief, and Wrath. So if you do want to take a look at that, remember I will link to it down below. But some of this stuff is going to be worth touching base on really quickly here for a minute or two. This section here talks about the new artifacts that will be coming and how they are going to get a bonus every single piece, which I think is super cool. So 2-piece, 3-piece, 4-piece, 5-piece, you're going to be getting a bonus to that set. It's not just the 2, 4, 6. And then they also are going to be releasing mythical artifacts, which start with all 4 substats unlocked, similar to legendaries, but one of those substats will already have an increase equivalent to 1 roll on it. So they're going to be even above legendary artifacts. Then it shows the Stone Skin set. I mean, look at those first 3 pieces. You're going to get 8% HP, 40 resistance, and 15% defense. That's a very generally useful 3-piece set for a tanky champion for sure. And then it dives into the Stone Skin debuffs and protection and all that, which is going to be adding effects. They're going to make you even more sturdy and resilient on the battlefield. But worth noting that it does have a 300% bomb debuff qualifier. So they're kind of setting up bombs to be the counter to that. And the protection set also has a really good first 3 pieces there before it even gets to the protection buff, with the res of 20, HP of 15%, and the speed of 12%, which is pretty insane. You can almost go 3 and 3 on those 2 sets for just the general buffs, but you would miss out on the Stone Skin and the protection that it provides once you get up to those 4, 5, and 6 tiers. And then they dive into Mithrala Lifebane, who is going to be the champion that revolves around being able to acquire from Hydra rewards. And that'll be down below. I don't want to make this video too long. I'm getting wary of the time here. So I'll link to that down below if you want to look through all of this stuff specifically. But I do want to take a moment to talk about they are buffing the Alexander, the sharpshooter, which is obviously the champion based on s1mple being promoted in a promotion similar to the ninja thing with Raid. So I do want to talk about that for a second. And what they say is they're going to be changing, they're going to be buffing the chance to buff from, or the chance to place the freeze debuff, sorry, from 35 to 50%. So they're basically just going to be doing what the qualifier was doing, but they're going to be adding that as the base effect. So I don't know if that means that now it's going to be 70% against Oryx and Ogryn. All it says is we're buffing the chance to place the freeze from 35 to 50%. So I don't know what it means about the second part of that, but at least the base the base chance is getting buffed because it definitely needed it. It was a little bit too low in terms of a base effect if it's going to be a single target, single hitter. And then they also said the damage output of the A2 and the A3 is going to be increased, which basically means the multipliers are going to be increased to help him scale with attack and crit damage to do a little bit more damage output compared to what he was doing before in the first version. So they are buffing up a little bit. It's good to know that they're listening because I think the community in general was very underwhelmed by this promotion compared to the Ninja one. So it's good. If he's going to be a damage dealer, he's got to have some utility and do some good damage. Otherwise, he's not going to be very useful. But it is worth noting he is a free champion literally for just logging into the game, so we can't expect him to be godly or something, but it would be nice to see them give him a little bit of love and make him something to get excited about, or at least have some sort of new mechanic, especially if he's not going to have something new that he's bringing to the table. He's got to be at least pretty solid. So I would say, even, I mean, I don't know how hard he hits exactly. I haven't tested him personally, but it would be nice for them to maybe even show him a little bit more love. But it is nice they're listening and making him a little bit better because he definitely needed it. Okay, so that was a lot to get through. I'm going to get through the rest of this stuff really quick for you guys. What you're going to want to focus on today, especially if you are doing the Vildrax event to get the fragments, you're going to want to make sure you get the Fire Knight done. I actually have to do this myself. Get the 2,050 points in the Fire Knight. That is the focus today. And then as we head into the weekend, we're going to be getting a tag team arena tournament and a classic arena tournament. But those look like they're just going to kind of be holiday normal events here based on the artwork. And then under the events tab, we have got the Summon Rush, obviously coinciding with the 10x event that we covered earlier in the video. And then make sure you focus on the champion training because that is going to end today, similar to the Fire Knight. If you are getting the fragments, you're going to want to focus on champ training and Fire Knight, and then you will be good to go and keeping pace with that. So that will all depend on where you're sitting at personally. I know for me, I'm at 85 out of 100 for Vildrax, and the way I was planning it was to make sure that I end up in a situation where I can get the 10 points from the Fire Knight, which will take me from 85 to 95, and then that puts me in a situation where I've only got to get 5 points from the champion training event, which I can do so by getting to 2150 today. So that will put me at 100 fragments, and I will have my Vildrax. So hopefully that works out for you if you were going for him as well. And since this video is already crazy long, I am going to do the offers really quickly for you here. The rank 5 chicken pack, $40 for this is not going to be something I am super into. The monthly pack, we already know, is a pretty decent offer. It usually grades out as about a 2.5. The Great Deal Mix Pack, this one would be a decent offer for high spenders whose champion pool has really outweighed the development of their account. But for most of you, 90-something% of you out there, this would be one that I don't recommend. The Mini Mix Pack, we know, is about a 2.75 or so on the value, depending on the price of your spending tier. And then $10 for rare gear is not going to be an offer that I want to recommend. Also worth noting on the way out that a new Doom Tower has launched. We have got Dark Fae Astronix as the final boss of this Doom Tower, so good luck on that. And sorry for the longer video today, but there was a lot to get covered. I am running late. I need to head on over to stream. There will be a link down below if you would like to come say hi and join us. We'll be live for the next few hours after releasing this video, just hanging out with you, playing some Raid and talking about all this stuff going on. So that'll do it for me on this one. Have a great rest of the end of your week here, and as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.